As we find ourselves deep within the fall 2024 anime season, it is time for us to answer the question that we have every single season. Yes, is your favorite anime popular in Japan? This is a video series that I do every single season where we dive into some of the available charts that we get from Japan and compare them to the popularity of Western aggregation sites. Because yes, as weebs like me like to jest, Japan has better taste than we do. The usual disclaimers that literally nobody listens to and will complain in the comments about it later. These rankings are based on different sites, more geared towards Japanese viewership. This can be through streaming sites, Japanese television ranking aggregators, and whatnot. All data is taken on the day of recording and can fluctuate based on episode airings, availabilities, exclusivities, early airings, etc. This data is not the end-all be-all. It doesn't say that your favorite anime sucks. It's simply an interesting way to analyze interest in certain series, and honestly gives us a good perspective on the success of certain properties because despite how well the show does over in the West, most of the time all that matters for a lot of these companies is how many eyeballs it gets in Japan. Because yes, most anime is just advertisements for source material. With all that out of the way, let's dive into it. Starting things off with how well things are doing globally based on English data sites. This means yes, My Anime List and AniList. Now yes, between the two sites, we're seeing pretty much both are kind of on par with each other. Yeah. Dandadan is topping the charts across the board. This series is doing so well, and I'm thankful for that because I'm actually enjoying it a lot. Right below that is ReZero's third season, despite the fact that, unfortunately, we have a wait period before the second half goes. It is doing extremely well. Now, this is where we get like a difference between Mal and AniList, where we have with Mal, for some reason, unfortunately, Uzumaki is number 3. Now, to be clear, this is only a 4-episode series. A lot of people watched it. It was available on television and everything. And yes, you do have to take into consideration, even though it is the most popular, meaning the most people are watching it or watched it, it is pretty much the lowest ranking show of the entire season. It did not do well with a 5.9. So even though a lot of people watched it, pretty much everybody hated it. And now AniList has it as well, but it's down 1 ranking. They're kind of flip-flop with Blue Lock itself. And Blue Lock is also equally not doing very well when it comes to rankings, and I could only imagine based on all the clips that I'm seeing on Twitter what the reason could be. Then after that, both sites are on par with each other. Again, we go right into Bleach, Blue Box, which I was kind of surprising. I thought Blue Box would be much higher. I think when the season first started, it was pretty high, but I think it's kind of come down quite a bit, which we'll kind of get into is pretty much being shown with a lot of the ranking sites on Japan too. Then we go right into Fairy Tail, Spirit Chronicles 2nd season, Alfreda 3rd season, danmachi 5th season, and Shangri-La 2nd season, and then 2.5 Dimensional Seduction, which 2.5 Dimensional Seduction has had 2 cores, so that's probably why it's up so high. But you're getting to like a lot of the sequel shows. This season overall, a lot of the high ranking stuff is like sequels and whatnot. The most unfortunate thing that I'm seeing with both Mal and AniList is definitely a lot of this series that I'm loving the most this season, especially Orb. Orb is way down at 17. It's literally like the best new series besides Dandadan of this season, and it's 17. It's just a massively unfortunate thing that, yes, people are watching things like Spirit Chronicles and Alpharetta and all this other stuff more than Orb. Pretty much one of the best new series that I've seen in a long time. But again, that goes back to that whole thing where just a lot of people just want escapism. They want explosions. They want harems. They want fun. They don't want people being hunted down for heretical thoughts. Even Ranma was a big surprise for me. That's way down at 23. And then, of course, and I was expecting it, Sumisho way down at 40, which is very unfortunate considering there's only like 60 shows this season. It's way down at the bottom of the barrel. But again, that was kind of expected because, again, it's more slice of life, and yes, it's got a lot of controversy around its actual Japanese title. It is what it is. But with that out of the way, now that we've gotten the English and the global out of the way, the people that have no taste, let's get into the real people, the Japanese people who have the best taste. Again, it's a joke. Let's kick things off with Abema. And again, I want to reemphasize before I get into the Japanese ranking sites that yes, a lot of this stuff is based on availability, exclusivities, yada, yada, yada. So you might have cases like, for instance, Bleach. Bleach is not going to be on a lot of the charts for the streaming services because the actual TV broadcast of Bleach was a day before everything else. So most people that really want it are going to be watching on television and not on Abema or on Amazon or anything. First things first, yes, Abema. Abema is a very popular streaming website. I like to use Abema just because all the viewerships are all available. So I can actually get viewer count and everything. It gives me a really clear picture on exactly who is watching what and how many times. And yes, Abema, just like in the West, dandadan, #1. Doing really well. Again, this is kind of the great thing about that I'm seeing with this season's particularly is that across the board, West and in Japan, certain shows are really kind of rising to the top. And dandadan is one of them. Like across pretty much all the ranking sites, dandadan is doing very, very well. Right below that on Abema, #2, rezero. Yes, also doing extremely well on Abema in Japan. Again, not much of a surprise here. ReZero is an extremely popular franchise. It's coming back, and people are loving it. Now, here's where we get into the usual Japan, where, again, we got to emphasize the idea that a lot of people just want to watch something fun, and they don't have to think too much about. But yes, #3 on Abema with the most views. Yes, Banished Healer. That show is doing really, really well on Abema in Japan. Now, I don't really see it really anywhere else, and I think that might be a case where it's more being viewed on Abema versus other platforms, so keep that in mind. Now, #4, this is where my hope is restored. This is where if I can't rely on my local fans, my domestic fans, my Western fans for enjoying peak anime, at least I could be reassured that Japan understands what good anime is. Orb, On the Movements of Earth, #4 on Abema. Thank you, Japan. They know where it's at. That show is absolutely incredible, and I'm really happy to see it actually getting attention there. Because again, like I said earlier, in a lot of cases, this stuff, its success is really kind of riding on how well it does in Japan because, again, they want to sell source material. So at least knowing that it's doing good in Japan gives me more hope for them to continue on more stuff, which I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a full adaptation, so I'm guessing that's not really going to make a difference anyways, but I'm at least happy it's getting attention there. Moving on to #5 on Abema, Loner Life in Another World. I'm actually really enjoying that show, so that's actually good to see that up there. And again, this is probably going to be in that realm of something that's just fun to watch. People just want something to turn their brain off and just see a guy BOP in another world. Then we get #6 on Abema, which is danmachi Season 5, which that's good to see too, because I'm really enjoying danmachi. Ever since Season 4, it has been really picking up, so it's good to see it get attention. #7, Grieving Soul Retire. Let this grieving soul retire. I kind of wonder, I probably should have checked again to see how it's doing in the later episodes, because I pretty much took about 6 episodes of every single season to see their viewer count to kind of get an idea of what's doing better than other shows. And that's one of those ones where I'm wondering if the recent episodes have been dropping off, because, for me anyways, last 2 episodes, despite, yes, my favorite Seiyu being in it, it has just kind of lost a lot of its flavor, but it is what it is. #8, Spirit Chronicles 2nd season. #9, Offeretta 3rd season. #10, Do-Over Damsel. That's a surprise there, because I don't even think it's charting on Mal or any chart. Do-Over Damsel's not even charting over there. Over here, it seems to be doing decently well, so there you go. #11, Goodbye Dragon Life. Aristocrat Season 2. Shangri-La Season 2. Blue Box way down at 14. Which that's not too much of a surprise, because again, that's something that's going to be probably more watched on Netflix, but it is what it is. Miss Servant, Sword Art Online, GGO2, Demon Lord 2099, which Demon Lord 2099, to be fair, and again, this is based on a same amount of episodes, that technically is like a late starter, so. And I have to say, even though I had hopes for Japan to at least pick up the peak that is Sumisho, unfortunately, even on Abema, Sumisho is way down at 23. And right below that at 24 is Negative Positive Angler. So 2 series that I was really hoping would do really well over there, not doing well. So there's no hope for those 2 series. Now with Abema out of the way, let's look at Amazon. Now Amazon's very difficult because Amazon Japan does have a lot of anime. Like it is like almost the premier way of streaming anime in Japan. Unfortunately, there's no real available data on their site as regards to rankings or for actual viewer count. So it makes it difficult to look at, even though I do want to look at it. There is available sites where you can get rankings from, but there's no publicly available data from it. The way that they get the data is not very consistent, and I've seen a lot of irregularities in their data, so I can't really use that. The way that I was able to kind of check Amazon JP was really looking at ratings and scorings. And this is basically based on how many people actually rated on an actual show and what the score itself is. And it's odd to see that there's actually a big difference between 2 of them. First of all, how many ratings they actually got. Dandadan, easily #1. A lot of rankings on that one, so it's way up there. It's at number 1. Dragon Ball Daima right behind it. It's our first kind of showing of Dragon Ball Daima, honestly, so it's good to see that it's doing well on Amazon Japan. Loner Life right behind that, so that's kind of consistent with Abema quite a bit there, because again, Abema, it was number 5. Grieving Soul, again, similar to Abema, right behind that. Blue Box at number 5, again, probably pretty low because most people are probably going to be watching on Netflix, but it's going to get a lot of viewerships there as well. Magalamir at number 6, that's cool to see there because, again, that's another one that's not really getting much attention in the West, and I think that's mainly because it's only available on Amazon NA, but at least it's getting attention there. I think it's a really good show. I'm enjoying it a lot. Then number 7, Appraisal Skill. Villainous goes down in history at number 8, and then Do Over Damsel at number 9, which again, doing very well, at least in Japanese rankings, at number 10 on Abema, number 9 on Amazon. Now the scoring, again, this is based on how well the score itself is. That's where it kind of shifts quite a bit, and I start to kind of validate my enjoyment for a certain show. With a 4.5 scoring and the most scores, we have Sumisho. So the toppest rank with the most scoring, Sumisho, is number 1 on Amazon JP. Thank you. At least on there, it's doing good. Now, again, it's not the most ranks, but at least those that actually watch it are scoring it very, very well. So good to see that. I'm really enjoying Sumisho. It's extremely emotional. It's just a really fantastic series that presents some very cool questions about taking over a life of somebody and the effect that that has on families. And yes, obviously regrets and second chances. Then right behind that with a 4.5 as well, Puniru is a Kawaii Slime. Again, another series that I'm enjoying a lot. I'm not going to say it's the greatest show ever, but for what it does it really well. And I usually get a WTF moment every single episode of like, I can't believe they did that. But it seems like Amazon JP, a lot of people that are watching it really enjoy it. Then at number 3, we have Kenshin, which is really cool to see that there as well. Natsume's Book of Friends at number 4. Yay. Again, really enjoying the new season. Good to see that there. Then Nina's Starry Bride at number 5. Ofreta at number 6. And then that's when we get down to 4.0 rankings, which we start off with dandadan again. Easily the highest amount of rankings, and it's still at a 4.0, which is still really, really fantastic. Then we have Grieving Soul Retire at number 8, and then at number 9, we have Blue Box. So really cool stuff there. Now, Netflix Japan rankings. This is really cool because this is actually on Netflix's site. They show a top 10 every single week. And so with Netflix, specifically in Japan, number 1, without a doubt, across the board, no doubt whatsoever here, dandadan. Yes, dandadan is doing incredibly well on Netflix Japan. Basically, how I got these numbers is I look every single week during the season itself, and I write down what placement they are in the top 10 list. Then I'll give an actual weighted value to each placement in the top 10, and then tally up that entire score. Dandadan was like number 1 for multiple weeks, and I think it's still at this point, still number 1. This show is doing incredibly well, that it's topping everything else that's currently airing in Japan on Netflix. It's doing that good. Right behind that one is Blue Lock. Blue Lock is doing very well, staying up on the chart. Then, again, validating the love for it, Orb. Yes, Orb is doing very, very well on Netflix Japan. Then below that, we have a lot of shows that are kind of jumping into the top 10 list and kind of dropping back out of it, but we have ReZero third season was on there. Rama 1/2 was doing well for a while. Yakuza Fiancé kind of popped on there at some point, and then Dragon Ball Daima once that finally started airing. I will admit that Dragon Ball Daima did start late, so it only recently started kind of jumping in there. But really cool data. I really enjoy looking at Netflix Japan's data. Beyond there, we do have 2 services that does look at TV rankings and does like aggregation of TV rankings. And the first one we have is Video Research in Kanto. And typically these ones actually have actual TV broadcast stuff. So it's gonna be a lot of stuff that's long running series. Like of course, typically Sazai-san is always number 1. Chibi Marako-chan pops up there as well. Detective Conan's always on there. Precure's on there. Doraemon's on there. Then right below that, this is the first big surprise from this ranking. Blue Miburo. Yes. Okay, I have to clarify here for anybody in the West, because I'm pretty sure nobody knows the heck that show is. But no, Blue Miburo is a series that is airing currently, and it's just not really on any rankings anywhere. I'm not seeing really anybody talk about it, but at least on TV rankings in Japan, it's doing very well at number 6. Then we have One Piece, of course, pops up on there. Butt Detective at number 8. Then, again, Magalamir. Magalamir is doing very well on TV rankings, so that's a huge surprise there. And then at number 10, we have Dragon Ball Daima. Our other TV aggregator that we use, which is Anime Iga, they use Dimora as their actual aggregator. Number 1. Again, my third validation for this. Orb. Number 1, Orb. So fantastic to see that there. I am so beside myself that it is a number 1 somewhere. On some ranking in Japan, Orb is number 1. I could not be more happy. Love to see the love for that one. Then number 2, we have Dragon Ball Daima, again, jumping up on the chart. Number 3, Blue Lock, doing well over there. And then again, number 4, Blue Mibiro. The show just kind of pops up out of nowhere. Hey, people like us. I kind of feel like I need to go back and check it out now. But yes, number 5, again, Magadamir. Love to see the love for that one. Really happy to see that it's getting some attention. It's kind of one of those things where, because of how it seems like at least Amazon in the West is kind of ruining the hype for it, I kind of wonder how well that show would have done if it was on Crunchyroll or something like that. Something that people have easy access to. Then we have number 6, Rama 1/2. Number 7, Appraisal Skills 2nd season. Then we have ReZero 3rd season. Really cool to see that on TV rankings. Then Shangri-La Frontier 2nd season. And then at number 10, Dandadan. Which again, I'm pretty sure that most people are probably watching Dandadan on other services rather than on TV, but it is what it is. But really cool stuff there. Really cool to see kind of the little shift in what is actually popular. Obviously, the biggest shock for me over all this data is to see, yes, how well Suma Show is doing on Amazon, which is a big surprise there, and Punidu as well. Again, they're not the most rated, but they have the highest ranking. But yeah, super happy to see that even across the entire board, across the West and Japan, dandadan and ReZero at least are doing incredibly well. It seems like both sides, everybody's just loving it. It kind of just has that global connection that no matter where you're at, there's a love for those two franchises. And again, it makes sense because at least for both of those franchises, they're doing an incredible job with the adaptation. Visually, they look absolutely fantastic. But yes, for me personally, Orb. At least for me personally, Orb, seeing that doing very well in Japan is probably my biggest enjoyment to see. Because yes, even in the West, where it's way down at 17, it's doing incredibly well. Number 1 in Dimora, number 3 on Netflix. It's just doing very well there. Probably the biggest shock for me really is just around Blue Box, because I know that when Blue Box first started airing, at least in the West, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was beside themselves with how beautiful Blue Box was. And thus you had a lot of clips on Twitter. Everybody's excited for it. They were just super jazzed for this romance slice of life that was popping up. But I know something very quickly that over the weeks, people stopped talking about it completely. And I sort of had the same feeling when I watched the first few episodes. It kind of started cooling down for me quite a bit. What was interesting is I seen a similar effect when I looked at something like Abema. With Abema, again, where it has actual viewership counts, it had the same massive decline over the episodes that I kind of seen with the hype around it in the West. As the episodes went along, which typically all these shows will have this happen, this one was showing a dramatic decline in how many viewerships it was getting. So it kind of validated the same feeling that I was getting with the Western, fan base around Blue Box itself. The hype just kind of dropped over time. Not to say that nobody's watching it, it's just kind of an interesting observation. Other than that, I'm kind of seeing the usual that I see with a lot of the Japanese rankings. Just a lot of them really just enjoy shows that just kind of give an escapism. It's the healer banished from the party. It's the loner life in another world. It's the goodbye dragon life type of shows. Shows that people just enjoy to kind of see. As much as people hate isekais in the West, Japan typically likes it. Again, a lot of the hype around and the love around isekais is the idea of getting away from your current life, getting away from the modern time world, and just enjoying a life in a fantasy settings. That's what it provides, and that's what people typically like. Additionally, I'm really, really, really happy to see how well Magadamir is doing, and it makes me want to get right back into it. I'm behind an episode of it, and I've been enjoying it. It's not the greatest thing ever, but again, I'm really happy to see how much Japan is really enjoying it. But yeah, that's the lowdown. That is the lowdown on what is popular in Japan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below and comment. Let me know what's the biggest shock for you. Is this kind of par for the course? Everything kind of makes sense? Or is there something here that's kind of a shock to you? Let me know. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave. If you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.